Success. Let's talk about success. Your success. By living virtuously, you can find success and happiness. I would invite you to add these 7 words to your memory: faith, hope, love, prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude. At a minimum, we can have faith in each other, hope in each other, and love for each other. Prudence, it enables us to see truth and act rightly, to make good decisions. Justice, it enables us to give others their due and promotes right relations with others. Temperance, it promotes self-control to enjoy pleasures well, usually regarding food, drink, and intimacy. Fortitude, it is courage and patience. It enables us to face difficulties well. I can't help but to think of June 6, 1944 as an example of fortitude. Many teenagers stormed Normandy Beach and eventually liberated Europe. That is kicking it. Those are the 7 virtues which all other virtues can be derived. I would also invite you to add 3 phrases to your memory. Will the good of the other. Find yourself in the other. Celebrate the success of the other. When thinking about this talk, it occurred to me we all have 2 dials, one for self and one for other. If you dial one bigger, the other gets smaller, and vice versa. I would suggest you consider dialing up your other dial. It's the key to success and happiness. A friend and I were traveling in a group years ago, and he said, the opposite of talking is listening, not waiting to talk. I wrote that down. It's pretty good. Let's clarify some thoughts on the concept of judgment. Most people of God believe in an afterlife. I'm one of them. I would define people of God to include all people on earth, no matter what higher power we believe in. Even if you don't believe, you are still included. Judging right and wrong, that is good. That is the virtue of prudence. Judging salvation, that is who gets to heaven, that is up to a higher power based upon your heart. We can guess the criteria, but we should not judge others' hearts. That is way above our pay grade. Let's clarify some thoughts on pride. Pride can be both a virtue and a vice. I'm proud to be a graduate of Jasper High School. I'm proud to be an Eagle Scout. That's good. I am better than you. Not so good. Selfish pride resides in all the vices. The 7 deadly vices are pride, envy, anger, sloth, greed, gluttony, and lust. It is worth defining envy. You are jealous if you want something somebody else has. You are envious if you also desire that someone else not have it. The counter to envy, celebrate the success of the other. Let's clarify one more vice, sloth. Not the slow-moving mammal in the Americas. Sloth is also known as laziness, but best defined as indifference. Some say this vice is the vice. Their reasoning is that the opposite of love is not hate, but indifference. The opposite of I care deeply for you is I don't care at all. Some say your generation does not care, likely because many seem glued to their screens. I disagree. Social media. You have lived in a tough, unique time. No generation before you has had to deal with technology invading your life more than you. My grandparents, who were farmers, were some of the first to have color TV. They could not carry it on their wrists. It did not interrupt their day. The telephone did, but it actually had a cord attached to it. There were a lot of unanswered calls back then until some silly person invented the answering machine. The social media can be a virtue or a vice. Wealthy and powerful people want to control how you think by watching your screen time and using the power of computing to manipulate your thinking. Your choice to let them or not. Please don't let other people do your critical thinking for you. One can argue that caused World War II. No human being should ever claim to be science. The scientific method should be respected. Have you imagined what your kids are going to have to deal with? Yikes. AI, artificial intelligence. We have all this technology, but why do we have to sit at a red light when there's no traffic going the other way? Maybe somebody can fix that. It is a bit scary to think of computers thinking. Worse yet would be artificial consciousness. I don't believe that's possible. The Oppenheimer movie was recently released. Just because we can does not mean we should. After such a sober thought, let's move on to laughing. Laugh often. Mr. Jergers says, success breeds success. True, laughing breeds laughing. Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Whitty were my third grade teachers who taught me to spell laugh, L-A-U-G-H. You can also spell it L-A-F, love and forgive. It can be contagious too. Forgiveness is not for those needing to be forgiven, but for you. Someone once said, unforgiveness is like ingesting poison and expecting the other to die. Not a virtuous thing, by the way. And sometimes we need to forgive ourselves. An important point here is the concept of boundaries. Some people unfortunately crank up their self-doubt so large that the only healthy decision you can make to protect yourself is to put up a boundary. In one extreme, this could be called narcissism. Hence, the key to success and happiness is living virtually and turning down that self-doubt. Virtue ethics. How do we learn it? Of course, parents or special people, faith communities are very important. In the 1980s, we did not have an ethics class like you, but we did have Mr. Bassler and countless other teachers. I would suggest an age-appropriate ethics class in 3rd grade, 6th grade, and sophomore year. That's required. My opinion. JHS has always taught virtue ethics to its teachers and staff. Mr. Bassler, I remember very little Latin, but I remember his virtue. We needed it, as most of us in this class were STEM kids. He was very patient, but had high expectations. He is a good example of, if all else fails, use words. Best is to lead by example. Teachers, we're paying attention to you. Teaching is and will always be such an important profession. Last fall, Mr. Bassler's life changed, but was not ended. His obituary stated he taught Latin and English for JHS for 28 years, retiring in 1988. In 1993, he was Distinguished Educator. His obituary also mentioned that he taught locally for no pay for another 22 years after he retired in Jasper at age 60. He lived virtuously for 95 years. Mr. Bassler had just turned 16 on June 6, 1944. Too young for World War II. I was not going to mention this, but then I decided I should honor him. My great uncle, Edmund Warren, was a teacher at Jasper High School. Married, no kids. He was age 34 on June 6, 1944, and serving in the United States Navy in the Pacific Theater. In a shadow box in our home, we have his Purple Heart and a letter to his wife signed by his U.S. Navy captain stating that his life changed, but was not ended in January of 1945 after a suicide bomber crashed into his aircraft carrier. He was buried at sea. Another example of virtue. Summary, finally. Y'all still awake? Not sure. By living virtuously, you can find success and happiness. Academic success is great, but combined with living virtuously, it is true, long-lasting success. Be you. Find your passion. Have fun, but add virtue. The 7, faith, hope, love, prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude. The 3 phrases, will the good of the other. And this is the definition of agape type love, the greatest virtue. Find yourself in the other. We all have so much in common. Celebrate the success of the other. You will find happiness and success if you do your best to live virtuously. Turn down self. Dial up other. It is my opinion we are all people of God, and for me as a Christian, the greatest commandment comes to mind. Love God with your entire heart, mind, strength, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. For me, that is the other dial, and I try my best to crank it up. Older generations always seem pessimistic toward current teenagers who will be taking over management of planet Earth. And that's you. Many teenagers stormed Normandy Beach on June 6, 1944. They did it for their family, for their country, for their world, for their God, for the guy next to them. They dialed other to the max. Today we call them the greatest generation. By living virtuously, you can find success and happiness. By living virtuously, I believe the next greatest generation is you. Thank you.